Okay.
What did I tell you the other
Okay, we're
night?
gonna come up under audience concern. Okay, all right. Okay,
Hey, Serena. You done with that?
yeah.
It work okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to
2019.
Eustis City Hall. This is Thursday, October the 6th, 2019 at 6 o'clock p.m. And we're going to go ahead and start our commission meeting. The invocation is going to be led by Pastor Buddy Walker, and our pledge will be led by the Vice Mayor, Karen LeHeup-Smith. If you'd like to join us for those, if you'd please stand. Pastor Buddy?
Thank you. Would you bow your heads and join me in prayer? Father, we want to thank you for your gracious provision, for the very life that we enjoy, how you created man from the dust of the earth and breathed the breath of life. Thank you for the opportunity to live, all the joys that we experience, even the sadness that comes our way. Thank you for the earth, the sun, the air, the water, the soil, the seed, the food, everything that you have provided for us, all the provision that you have made that we're able to use. Help us to be good stewards of all that you have created. In every decision that we make, may we be guided by the two greatest commandments that were given: to love the Lord our God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. May all of our decisions and choices be governed by these two commandments. Help us to always think in what honors God. Help us to always be aware of the needs of others around about us, and free us from any selfishness, self-centeredness, anything that would lead us to only think about our individual well-being while turning a blind eye to the needs of others. I pray that you'll bless this commission meeting tonight. May there be unity, may there be good decisions and choices in everything that is for the well-being of this city. In the name of our Lord, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Mr. Nyberg, is there an agenda update?
No, sir.
Thank you. Mary, is there a quorum present? Proper notice been given?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you so much. We're going to start with presentations by the police department. Chief, if you'd like to come forward.
Good evening, everyone. Very pleased this evening to present to you our newest corporal with the police department, Matthew Grieves. Matt has been spent several years as our one of our canine handlers and has done a great job with that. And we're looking forward to great things with him serving in his new capacity as a police corporal. So we will do a swearing-in ceremony for him right now. If you would, raise your right hand. I, and state your name.
Matthew Grieves.
Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support,
that I will support,
protect, and defend
protect, and defend
the Constitution and government
the Constitution and government
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the state of Florida,
and the state of Florida,
and I am duly qualified
and duly qualified
to hold office
to hold office
under the Constitution of the state,
under the Constitution of the state,
and that I will
and that I will
well and faithfully perform
and faithfully perform
the duties of police corporal
the duties of police corporal
for the city of Eustis, Florida,
for the city of Eustis, Florida,
on which I'm about to enter.
on which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. lovely certificate going along with that.
Is there a speech too? or-
Grieves. And we'll let's take a picture here with that.
Fritz didn't get promoted?
You get you're better.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Chief, don't run off. Tell us what happened yesterday in St. Pete.
We had a great day yesterday at St. Pete's. We had our first reaccreditation for the police department. The initial accreditation was 3 years ago, so now every 3 years we have to go through that process again. You're pretty familiar, you got to see some of it. It's an arduous process that is done, but our folks did a great job. We're very, very pleased to get that reaccreditation this time and look forward to doing it again in 3 more years.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks for all you do.
Congratulations. Great job.
Next, we have a presentation by Pastor Buddy Walker regarding Commission Beyond Borders. Pastor Buddy, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Yes, sir.
I am giving a report on what is called the Bates Avenue Community Resource Center. And I want to start off by honoring Emily Lee, our commissioner, who had a vision some years ago, and I'm losing track of time how long ago that was, to see this little house used in a way that would be a blessing to the community.
Yay.
And I'm glad it's still going on. So thank you. Have a PowerPoint. And so the purpose is for the property to be used for a neighborhood service center to provide community services and resource information to the general public. The home is owned by the city of Eustis, and Commission Beyond Borders is kind of serving as an organizer, facilitator, and then we have different organizations that are involved in helping to provide services to the community. It's not a very big place. Sometimes it gets a little crowded in there, but a lot is going on. And one of the programs that we run there is through Lake Care's Food Pantry. They are located in Mount Dora, but they have a number of places that are off-site where they distribute food. And so from this home, 2 times a month, the second and fourth Friday of every month, we distribute food. Most of the individuals coming for the food are not homeless. They are people from the area, Lake County residents, many of them from Eustis, sometimes single parent households, retirees living on a pension, people with disabilities. And I never fully understood how the food distribution helps people that are struggling to make ends meet, but I had a single mom explain to me that when she had food provided, that gave her money back into her budget to pay an electric bill or to make a rent payment. Everything is well organized. We don't store food in the house. We bring it in the day before the distribution, and it all goes out on Friday morning. We have some numbers from Lake Cares. This is from October 1st, 2018 till September 30th of this year. 1,655 families, which equals approximately 5,400 individuals were served. That is 11.86% of the total number served by Lake Cares during the same time period. So out of Lake County, 11.86% is being served here in Eustis. Approximate pounds distributed was 60,000 pounds. And when I read that number, I felt a backache. We have a little van that we carry the food in, and sometimes that van is sitting so close to the ground in the back, it's now missing the back bumper. It got ripped off. But some of our volunteers, and I really want to recognize our volunteers tonight, they are awesome people. A number of them are local community residents, and it's good seeing people from the community serving the community. We have some young people that are a part of a program that we have, which is called the Empower School, and it's a great learning experience for them. being able to be involved at the pantry. We try to expand outward as much as we can, and this little canopy gives some shade as we register people. Another one of the young people dragging a wagon, and it's a great way that the food is handled. Once the people come through and get their food, there are people with the wagons, and it gives them an opportunity to walk the person to the car and interact, and a lot of friendships are formed. Over on the right, you'll see a fairly good sized tent, and Advent Health comes out periodically and does health screenings, and this tent is amazing. It's all air conditioned, and so this was a health screening for women that they just had there, and that's inside the tent, and some of the nurses that were helping with the program. The health department has also done inoculations for hepatitis. I think this last event, they inoculated 46 individuals. And so that combination of partnership with the city, the location, the food distribution, which allows us to network with a lot of people, and then the opportunities to partner with organizations, it's a great blessing to the community. So some of the health department people. And I want to make special mention of this lady. Her name is Carly Sales. And Carly is here tonight. And Carly is the coordinator for the Resource Center. She does an amazing job. She has her own program, which is called Fresh Start Ministries. And it is a great joy working together with her. We have a few stories that we would like to share with you tonight because we have interesting things happen. And if you don't believe in the grace of God, there are times that we see it so clearly. And one of the situations that occurred recently, there was a pickup truck with a big trailer hitch on the back, backing up out of the Resource Center and backed into the front end of another car. And the driver of the truck was going to leave, but a lady who was there, who was actually the mother of the lady whose car got hit, that lady was inside getting her food, realized the lady that hit her daughter's car was going to drive away. So she went out to stop the lady. And the lady got out of the truck and was quite reactionary and spoke rather harshly to the mom. Someone told her daughter, the owner of the car, that her car had been hit, what was going on, and she came outside to confront the driver. Now, this lady that came out, for some people she would look like a scary person. And she walked up to the driver that was going to leave, and she said, "Do you know what I'm going to do to you?" And she came back with her arms. Deborah, one of our volunteers, had her cell phone out to call the police because it looked like it was about to be a bad scene. And she said, "I'm going to give you a hug and forgive you because it's only a bumper. But I do want you to apologize to my mom." So at the next event, I was talking to people about grace and how we receive grace from God and we have to pass that grace on to others. And I said, we had a situation last week where there was some grace that was shown. And I asked the question, did anybody see what happened? And there was a lady that began to wave her hand and she said, I did. She said, I was the driver of the truck that ran into the other car. And she said, when that lady hugged me, it changed my heart. I love those kind of things. Carly has started a program for women called Strengthen Thy Sister. It's a support group. And at one of our distributions, there was a lady that was in such a bad situation that she told some of the volunteers that she was having suicidal thoughts. And some of the people surrounded her. She's now a part of that support group that Carly is running. And so I just want to thank you for the opportunity to use the property. And 4-H Club has started back up again. There's different programs that are going on and being developed, and so thank you. And one of our volunteers is going to come up for just a moment. Her name is Deborah, and Deborah is a fountain of joy. When she's around, it just kind of bubbles over on everybody. Deborah was the one who was going to call the police that day, so I'm glad she didn't have to.
Hello, thank you for letting me speak tonight. Okay. My name is Debbie. Oh, first of all, the title of my story here. All of us ladies were thinking we wanted to express to y'all what the center means to us. So the title of my essay is "What the Bates Neighborhood Center Means to Me." My name is Debbie Smith, and I live in Lake County, Florida. I've lived in Lake County, Florida for approximately 30 years. I'm currently a volunteer at the Bates Neighborhood Center in Eustis, Florida. I help with the food bank distribution sponsored by Lake Cares on the 2nd and 4th Fridays of each month. I'd like to share with the commission members what the Bates Center means to me. The center for me is one of my safe places. I am a survivor of a random violent crime, and I'm still in the process of healing from a traumatic event that happened to me over 40 years ago. In order to heal, I seek out ways and places and people to assist in, as Scripture instructs us, to renew my mind and heart daily. And that is what the center does for me. Over the course of my time as a volunteer, as I've gotten to know the clients on a personal level, I have seen how the center provides spiritual food for many of them as well. Much like me, they came to the center not only for physical food, meat and potatoes and bread, etc., excuse me, but they've also come to expect to be spiritually fed as well. I am also a member of the Strengthen Thy Sister Women's Group that meets at the center on the Mondays following food bank distribution. Our sister meetings have grown in attendance and have begun to flourish under the prayers and care of our director, Carly Sales. We're expanding our mission to include the increasing needs of our members. We're off to a good start and look forward to this women's group being a blessing to the women of our community. This group came to be as part of a response to an immediate need of one of our food bank clients. She originally came to receive food assistance like so many who come to our doors, but ended up leaving the center spiritually fed as well. While in line completing the necessary paperwork to enroll in the food program, she broke down sobbing that she wanted to die, she wanted to kill herself, she didn't want to be there anymore. So we immediately enlisted the aid of our director, Carly, and her husband, Mr. Maurice, and immediate intervention began to assist this client to prevent a tragedy. The intervention included prayer for this client, leading to her acceptance of Jesus Christ as her Lord and Savior. Her reasons for choosing this time and this place and these people to share this life-changing moment, her answer was because she felt safe amongst us. So as you can see, the center not only provides a safe place for me, but also for some of our clients as well. I would share so many more stories of this kind from our center tonight of the huge impact it has made on our clients and the community as well as the volunteers' lives, but we would be here until very late tonight. More testimonies will follow at a later date. In closing, I'd like to add that sometimes as I pass my husband, as we head out to begin our busy days out into the world, he will ask where I'm headed. Most often I answer to the center, or as I finally call it, my center. But once I'm at the center, it becomes our center, the volunteer center, and of course the community center on the food distribution days with all the hustle and bustle. Recently, however, one day not long ago, as we were registering new clients, I looked out over the large crowd and thought of Jesus and the loaves and fishes and how the multitudes were fed on that day. I was overcome with the spirit of love and kindness and forgiveness and generosity found at our center, and realized that at that moment, the center, that this place was never my center, nor the center, or even our center, because it is His center, and His center is so worthy of fighting for its continued existence in our community. Thank you for your time and consideration of my center, the center, our center, but most importantly, His center.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Pastor Buddy, thank you. Thank you for all the volunteers that come out and help with this program. You're changing lives in our community, so I thank you. Lake Cares also, what a phenomenal job that they do in Lake County, helping the folks that cannot afford food. You are making a difference, because it does. Just providing a small amount of food pays a light bill, it pays a water bill, so thank you. And Commissioner Lee.
I definitely have something to say.
Well, I know you do. So you put the building blocks in place. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
I feel very emotional about all this.
It's okay, Emily, tell them what year it started.
In 2010, but you know, you do programs and you have a vision, and it's so awesome when other people get the vision. And it's going on. I'm so proud of that, and thank you, buddy. Also, I still have a vision for it. I believe that we talk about the CRA funds, we talk about funding that we have, projects. That building should be enlarged with CRA funds. I would like to see more after-school activities with children. We had great programs with kids. The city invested in the garden, and that's still there. And there's still hope for all of that. And so I am so pleased and I'm so thankful that you continue to help the people and not only to feed them, you know, because they need the food to survive, but spiritually, but also to plant seeds that they can do other things and help each other in the community and be good citizens. So thank you so much. I appreciate all the help and all the work that you guys are doing.
Thank you, Emily.
I also want to thank you too. I think it's a great job you've done. As you know, my wife and I are great supporters of Lake Cares. And one of the things we need to remember as Eustis residents, the 12% that Buddy Walker, Pastor Walker was talking about, is only those folks who receive assistance at that facility. You would probably be shocked to know that more than 50% of the folks that Lake Cares provides food to are Eustis residents. So keep that in mind.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Buddy. Coming down now to appointments. We have appointments to the Lake County Library Advisory Board of Donna Bachowski and Asia Lake. Either one of these ladies here tonight? No, not seeing any? Okay.
They are both already members of the library board.
So we're just reappointing.
Well, no, we're appointing them now that we're part of the county.
So they're going over to that one?
Yes, well, they're gonna be our representatives to that,
Do we need to vote on it then?
county. Yes.
All right. Looking for a motion to go ahead and appoint these ladies back on. So moved.
Seconded.
Second, any discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor LeHeup-Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Moran,
Aye.
Commissioner Aliberti.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Mayor Holland.
Aye. Now we're down to audience to be heard. This is your opportunity to speak to us about something that's not on the agenda tonight. Mr. Nybert.
I have Stephanie Carter.
While Stephanie's coming up, if you do come up to speak, try to keep it to 3 minutes, please.
I'll do my best.
Good evening, Mayor Holland. Welcome
Good
back
evening.
to town.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Smith, LeHeup-Smith, and Commissioners. I'm here tonight, as you all know, I'm on the Code Enforcement Board for the City of Eustis as well as the Citizens Advisory Committee for the Police Department. But I'm here today as the President of the Lake Eustis Area Chamber of Commerce. We have now hired an executive director for the chamber. We've been trying to find somebody for a little over 3 years. So we've taken our time and we have found a golden nugget in, I would like to introduce you to Laura Stutz. You will be seeing her around town. With me also is Tammy Roundtree, who has held the office together for the last 3 years by herself. So we want to recognize her for all the hard work that she's done. But Laura is a Florida native born in Jacksonville. She's a licensed educator. She has a lot of experience with corporate sales, marketing, advertising, doing events. So she's ready to start on Monday, October 7th. And we are very pleased to have her. I'm extremely pleased to have her. So I want everybody to welcome her. She will be meeting all of the city staff that she needs to work with on a day-to-day basis. So she's going to be a great addition for not only our chamber, but our city and our partnership that we have with all of you. So thank you.
so much.
You want to say something?
That was beautiful.
Thank you so much, Stephanie and Tammy. I am excited and honored to take this position. I came to Eustis, Florida in 2003 leaving the corporate world and, gosh, manager, trainer, raising 2 children with my husband. And then when we came out to Eustis, my fondest memories were teaching and coaching the children here in Eustis. And I love educating. I've started our own business with my husband the last 7 years since I left Eustis High School. And it's going great. So my husband is now going to take it over, and I'm ready to get back to helping from the heart and trying to help this little city get on the map, which it already is. I'm so excited to be a part of this. So thank you so much for having me. And I can't wait to work with Tammy, who's been holding the ropes for 3 years.
I think the direction our city going, this is a perfect time for Laura to come on board, because she's going to be a force with our forward motion that we've got going on and all the momentum that's happening. I also want to tell you now, there are 2 of these. She has an identical twin. So if you see her out and about and you think she knows you and she doesn't act like she does, that's probably Peggy, her sister. Just letting you know ahead of time.
Or you want to share how we know the difference? Because you explained it to me yesterday.
Well, I was so fortunate to work with Marie Alberti at Eustis High School back then, but now guess who teaches at Eustis High School? My twin sister. So
That's what I saw her.
we are confusing everyone in Eustis. Our children are out of the school system now, so it's exciting to take our next path. But Peggy, 2 G's in Peggy, 2 L's in Holland, Peggy Holland, has 2 earrings.
And that's how you know.
And I have one, and now I will never
Have another.
have that. And the football coaches that used to High School are the ones that even discovered that. We never even knew
Never
that's
paid
how.
attention.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But thank you all so much for having me. I'm excited.
Thanks, Mother.
We're looking forward to working with you.
Thank
Do you want to talk about the golf tournament while you're up here real quick?
Sure.
Thank you, Tammy, for all your work and
You've
all
been
the
great, Tammy.
hours and everything.
She's amazing. She
Yes.
really is. People don't realize how much she does and how many extra hours she puts in. So, yes, we are having our annual golf outing of Not So Serious Golf on October 18th at Black Bear. So far, we've got about 16 teams. We would like to have as many as we can get, but it's a lot of fun. It starts at 11 o'clock on Friday the 18th and goes through the day. There's you get a lunch with your team once you've signed up and paid your dues. Also, there will be hors d'oeuvres after the tournament and a great raffle and live auction items. And so far, I think we've got some pretty neat stuff going on auction. So thanks for asking, and we hope to see you there.
Thanks.
We would love to see the commissioners do a team.
Mr. Nyberg?
I'll go for lunch.
Yes.
We'll go to lunch.
Eileen Trey Montana from Trout Lake.
Good evening.
Good evening. Nice to see you all.
Good to see you.
I wanted to let you know about an activity that Trout Lake is going to be sponsored called the Table Talk. And it was initiated by the Central Florida Foundation. And the idea is to get people from the community together around the table to have a discussion about their community, their vision, where they want it to go, what they want it to do, and things like that. It's kind of like the family sitting around at the dinner table and having discussions. And hopefully you'll have commonalities you'll come up with, you'll have some new ideas, and some things that can be done. The foundation will have a way for people to electronically submit their results from the discussions that take place, and it'll be all gathered together and distributed back out. They're anticipating about 500 table talks going on around the place. So Trout Lake is going to be sponsoring some tables, and we want the community to know that if they want to come and have their voice on October 24th, we're unfortunately doing it from 2 to 4 because it's a very busy day for us. We have school groups till 1:30, and I have a bear group coming in at 5. So you're from 2 to 4. We hope some of the commissioners or anybody who really wants to look at this community, because Lake County's changing. This area is changing, we're growing, we're on the cusp of great things. So come and help us talk about it and bring it to the forefront. And I have some flyers if you want that you may be able to distribute. If you know anybody, whether it's your neighbor or a teacher, a high school student, whatever, anybody who has an idea of how to make the community better and wants to share their ideas and talk and create a better community, please invite them to come. They do have to register because I have to have space for them.
Thank you.
So I'll leave these with you.
Thank you.
And if two or more of us decide we want to go, it
Need
has.
to let Mary know.
Yeah, we need to let Mary know.
Yes, sir.
And I do know a couple of county commissioners are coming.
And if you're going to go out and golf, we definitely want it to be public so everybody can see it.
Bill Floyd?
Kidding.
No.
I was enjoying that narrative earlier by the gentleman that's going to be building, how he could spend that much money on, was it 12 units? Wow. Ma'am, I own 28 units, north side of town. If you remember 20, 25 years ago, 2 young black girls were murdered there. And I bought that place across the street from where they were murdered. It was a Winn-Dixie shopping center then. I paid $1.9 million for it, and I've put over $1 million in it, trying to make it into something that we would all be proud of. And I think we've done a hell of a good job. But I wanted to tell you all a story about a lady who works for me now. For 30 years, she was a life flight attendant. She came from an Indian reservation and went to Stanford. Graduated from Stanford as a nurse. And rather than make money, she life flighted. She came here, she lives here, and has lived here for 20 years. Your city manager and your police chief know about the problem that I've had. She's been almost murdered twice. The last time with a metal pipe by bums who you guys allowed to wander around your town. Joyce, show them what a physically imposing person you are.
I'm 4'9". And
She's done a lot of good in her life. It might be nice if she could live a little bit longer. But if you don't do something about these, and I love the fact that these people come up here and they do this stuff, and that's great. I work, I've said before. I'm tired of having her almost killed. This is twice. You need to do something about it, and you need to do something now. You attract bums to your town, this is what you get. When you finish telling your story, tell them about PTSD. That's an interesting story. PTSD, everybody, all the tears well up in your eyes. She was hired.
You need to stay in front of that microphone, please.
She was hired, as was her husband, to deal with PTSD at the national level. They developed a test that cut PTSD out of the service. Problem is, it also cut more people in the service wanted cut out, and what they ultimately did was they took the test and threw it away. A lot of this PTSD is people who they shouldn't take and do take and kick out summarily within a year. So before you get really excited about PTSD, make sure of the person you're dealing with. We think we've got part of the bum problem is supposedly PTSD. But this gentleman over here, we've gone to him, we've begged him, he didn't do a damn thing.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Nyberg.
Kathleen Floyd.
I'm here representing our 28 tenants. We've screened very carefully. We've been, some people think, largely responsible for turning around the part of the city where Dewey and Gotchi are. when I started managing the apartments for my husband about 7 years ago. You made police and fire calls there 2-3 times a day. And now if they come, it's because there's a genuine medical emergency or something like that, or homeless people. Our tenants would be here tonight. They've sent me their comments, which is what I'm sharing. The reason they're not here is because they're either working, they're going to school, or they have children other than Joyce. Joyce is here. The first thing they wanted to share is that they can't afford the water rates. I believe it went up something like 4.7%, was it 4 or 5 years ago? And it's gone up 1.7% ever since, every single June. And one of them brought up an article that Lauren Ritchie wrote, I think sometime after the meeting in the spring of 2018, where people that were either building new developments or people that lived on the fringe of Eustis would have the impact fees waived. And Lauren's comment was that the people that would be paying for it are the people who are already paying for water and sewer. And I've talked to the water department. What they have told me is that Eustis's water rates are very competitive. We also own property in Lady Lake, and the water and sewer rates before you use one drop of water or have it go through the sewer system is over $45 a month. And in Lady Lake, the water, if you use a huge amount of water, is maybe $15 a month. So I'm not sure where they're getting their information, but there seems to be a disconnect. And the bottom line is we screen our tenants very carefully. They make at least 3 times the rent and income. They have no history ever of drugs, violence, theft. They're the kind of people you want to attract to Eustis. But I've had people now tell me, especially since the homeless problem has become more prevalent for our residents in the last year, that Eustis isn't the nice, wonderful place that I told them it was. And they're angry with me. One of the other things they asked me to bring up is they are charged $6 a month for stormwater charges. And we don't have storm sewers. In fact, the people that live in the duplex that we own on the corner of Gotchi and Dewey, if you have a really heavy rain, water will come right up to their front door. So I understand that a lot of the communities do charge for stormwater, whether you have the services or not. When you're getting ready to put new stormwater drains in, we need them in our neighborhood. We don't have them. And if they're going to pay $6 a month, it seems that they ought to have the service that goes with it. The last thing I wanted to touch on, my husband's already covered a bit. The homeless problem has become more and more significant over the last year. In addition to Joyce being beat up, I've had calls from tenants who were standing in their kitchen with their niece on a Saturday morning, and they looked out the window, and there's a parking lot that's bordered by 2 of our buildings. They looked out the window, and there was a man who dropped his trousers and defecated, and he had to explain to his 7-year-old niece why that man took his pants off and pooed in the middle of the parking lot. During the cold winter months, I've had the people complain that they lit a dumpster on fire. I understand they're cold, but that shouldn't be. Back when the church was there, on the property that I think is along Clifford on the one side, they let people sleep on what was a loading dock, and you could look out your window in the back of our apartments and see people having sex. You could see them shooting up. I go back there and clean up. I pick up all kinds of alcohol bottles. I pick up needles. I pick up used condoms and clothes and whatever else people leave there. We had one lady who moved out, one family that moved out because she had a first-floor apartment with a private fenced backyard. Her 3-year-old would go into the backyard to play, and the people that were homeless will sit along our fence on the parking lot side next to the convenience store, and they almost hit her son twice throwing bottles over the fence. They moved out. The other thing is They use horrible language, which you can expect because they're not road scholars. And it's just who you're dealing with there.
If you would wrap it up for me, we've
I
reached
will.
our time limit. Thank
We
you.
had one other lady that just fled over the last 2 weeks. She was out on her back patio having a cup of coffee, and a homeless man tried to climb over her fence. And then she went out to the front. There was a police car there, and there was a homeless man that had fallen asleep on the ground next to another fence. I guess the point I'd like to make about homelessness, I have great compassion towards all people. That's why I went to school to get my doctorate in psychology. I want to work with people that want to change their lives. And the people that spoke tonight are working with people largely who want to make a change in their life. They need a hand up, and that group of people you can do a lot with. The problem with the chronic homeless is it's a lifestyle. They don't want to work in many cases. They want to be able to drink. They want to be able to use drugs and self-medicate. They don't want to be a part of LifeStream or have any limits put on them as to what time they should be out. They're dangerous, and our tenants are scared. There are no laws, I've been told, in the city of Eustis that govern homelessness, and we need them. What's being done is the people that don't pay taxes, don't own property, aren't trying to build up the community, are being privileged over the people that do. And it's just not right. It's not right for Joyce to be afraid or anybody else.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Nyberg?
That's all the cards I have.
Mike Swanson. Chief Swanson, wake up and come up here.
I was going to do this at the end.
No, you're not going. You're going to do it now.
All right.
We're fading.
I'm good either way. Every year in October, it's Fire Awareness Month, and we also do Fire Department and Police sell shirts. And this is our Cancer Awareness shirt for this year. We're selling these at $20. I have one for you, Ms. Teal.
Thank you.
Okay. If anybody's interested, I have a couple of shirts back here. I don't have a whole bunch of sizes, but they're available at both the Eustis PD and the fire department over on Norton. Yes. Oh, and we have them at the chamber. I don't know if you know that yet. But anyways, we're really proud of it because last year we were competing with the police department to sell the shirts, and this year we kind of joined forces, and it's one shirt that covers both, police and fire. So it's pretty neat. So thank you. And all the proceeds, profit that we make off of this does go to cancer research.
Asking how much?
$20. $20.
Thank you.
In U.S. currency.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to come down now to the consent agenda. There are 6 items under the consent agenda. Is there anything anybody would like to have pulled from the consent item?
No, thank you.
No. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we've got a first and a second. Any discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor LeHeup-Smith. Aye. Commissioner Moore.
Aye.
Commissioner Aliberti. Aye. Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Mayor Holland.
Aye. Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir. Resolution 1983, a resolution by the City Commission of the City of Eustis, Lake County, Florida, approving the recording of water, wastewater, and irrigation liens. Colleen Scott.
Good evening, Colleen Scott, Finance Director, and we try to do this every quarter. So what is a lien? People confuse lien with foreclosure. Foreclosure is you take ownership of the property. The city has no intention of doing that. A lien is simply when and if a house is sold, so if it's a year or if it's 20 years, whenever that house is sold from the proceeds, we'll receive our reimbursement for the utility services that we provided. And that way it's no hardship on the owner. Why do we do a utility lien? First of all, per Florida statute, we're required because we issued a revenue bond in 2016 for the wastewater treatment expansion. So we are required. Also, it's fiscally prudent. We do want to recoup the services that we provided. And to record a lien, it's $10. And our liens are, we always do anything over $1,000.
The criteria, you must be a homeowner, and once that property is sold, if we don't have a lien on that property, we have no claim to get reimbursed. We cannot do it on a rental property, and we're only looking at accounts over $1,000. So this is the liens that we're recommending to the commission. There are 17. If you do approve, we'll notify the owner by certified letter. We'll record the lien with the clerk of court, and then we'll also pull the meters so they will not receive any more availability charges. Year to date, we have recouped $27,000 in liens that have been paid off, and I think that is it.
Any questions? No. Would any members of the public like to speak on Resolution 1983? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment portion of the hearing.
Commissioners, before us we have resolution number 1983. What's the will of the commission?
Mr. Mayor, sorry, go ahead. That's all right. I move we approve number 1983.
Thank you, ma'am.
A second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor LeHeup-Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Moran.
Aye.
Commissioner Aliberti.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Mayor Holland.
Aye. Anything else? Nope, it's coming down to other business. That's a short one tonight. All right. First one under other business is public hearing to receive comments on required naming of Quarry Roll Field. Tom?
Yes. Thank you. We received a request from Gail Isaac Thomas to consider naming of the Harbor Park Annex Field north of Bates Avenue after Mr. Quarry Roll. We reviewed the application per the city's policy. You have a copy of the policy in your packet. As part of the policy, the first step, well, after the request is received, the first step is to hold a public hearing to receive public input. The staff has reviewed the request per the policy. It seems to be consistent in every way. And so this is the first step. And if commission so chooses, you direct staff to move forward with a resolution which will come back at the next meeting if you choose to move forward based on the public input you receive. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have, but we need to open it up to a public hearing and allow public comment. So.
You might have any questions of Tom before we do? Okay. Anybody in the audience like to speak on this?
Roll your eyes.
Come on, Miss Gale.
Good evening, Commissioners. Gail Isaac Thomas, the CRA rep of Eustis. And with me this evening, I have Corey's wife, Tamika Roll, and his cousin, thank you, Donnell. Donnell Roll, I almost called him Lamar, but Donnell Roll. And I would just like to say thank you so much, and I hope this is approved this evening. And I have someone else here that worked very closely with Corey when he was working at the city rec. And that is Mr. Sidney Donna.
Hey, Sidney.
So I'm going to step back. I'm getting too full. And I thank you all. Thank you so much. And I hope that it's approved this evening so that it can be moved forward on the 17th and get it done and have the dedication before the end of this month.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Tamika, did you want to say anything, ma'am?
Hello, panel. Again, I want to say thank you for the opportunity. As I said last time at the last meeting, it was my first city actual meeting, so I wasn't really prepared. But first of all, I just want to say again, thank you. But it will be an honor. For those who don't know Corey, he gave his heart to this community. He loved what he did. So it will be an honor, not just for him, but for his kids. We had two little girls at the time, 6 and 11, when they lost their father. My 6-year-old, she doesn't really have memories of her father. So this would be a great honor to pass it on to their children and children's children. So I want to say thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Sydney, do you want to say anything, sir?
Yes, I'd like to.
All right.
I'm going to break up. She's going to make me start breaking up. Most of you would know me. I'm Sidney Dunham, and I worked with Corey for a number of years at the City Recreation Department. Corey was a gentle giant, and for those who know Corey, he touched a lot of hearts in this community, a lot of kids. Corey came and got me a while back and said, Sid, I need you to help me bring this community together. And I said, Kid, I didn't work with these kids, man. My dad did all this. Like, I'm done. So Corey taught me how to love kids. And Corey had a filter, something I didn't have. He was well before his time. Like I said before, he loved all the kids. He touched a lot of hearts in this community. And for that probably to be named after Corey would be a great, great accomplishment in this community. We'd love to see it happen. Those of you who know Corey, he didn't have any enemies. I don't know anyone that didn't like Corey Rowe. That was at Eustis High School, City Recreation Department, as well as the community. He's loved by many, and we'd love to see you do something for Corey. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sydney. Thank you all. Anybody else like to speak on this? Not seeing any. I'd like to go ahead and get a motion from the commission to go ahead and proceed with naming the field after Corey Rowe.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Emily. Any discussion? Ms. Mary, can we have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor LeHeup-Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Moran.
Aye.
Commissioner Aliberti.
Aye.
Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Mayor Holland.
Aye. Thank you so much. Coming down to the next one, it's discussion on littering ordinance and increased fines for littering on and near the waterfront. What ways? Tom, you doing this one also?
I've got that one.
You got this one.
Actually, I'm going to defer to the attorney since you have his memo regarding it.
Perfect.
There's a request from Christine Cruz regarding to try to deter people from littering by making a hefty fine and doing more surveillance on it. The city attorney has provided research on those matters and can address those issues.
Mr. Attorney?
You have discretion to impose a much larger fine if you'd like, and then you also have the ability to monitor that through cameras. Now, issuing citations through cameras are difficult. You may be familiar with some of the red light camera litigation. Not having actual officer witness something, it's difficult for enforcement by camera, but you certainly have the right to put up cameras to at least monitor what's happening, and that may cause some people to behave in addition to posting that the fine for violation of littering. You do have that discretion. We're happy to draft whatever you'd like.
Need to hear from the commission. What's your desires on this?
Well, we need to do something.
Absolutely.
And I think I've talked with Christine that, if you have people who don't care, most likely they don't have the funds, and no matter how big of a fine you put on it, they don't have it anyway. But, the cost of a sign or 2 or 3 or 4 would be, just to see if that would stop someone. Cameras, that was a whole discussion. I'm sorry. Ooh, God!
Careful.
That was not good. Woke me up.
Everybody else too.
Okay, I'm away. For cameras, we talked about then you have to get monitoring. Now that we talked about grants that would, and I don't see it. I don't have a problem with going for grants to purchase cameras and maybe having monitoring. Again, until you try it, you don't know. I don't know what any other cities might have done in this respect, but we do have some major issues, down Fair and Park when they do clean up, the amount of needles and stuff that are shown down there. Did we start closing the lake walk?
Yes.
So that's closed at night?
That's
now?
closed from 11 to 6, and
Okay.
the signs are up, and Chief has been working, or has been monitoring, and I think the vandalism has gone down because of that.
Okay.
Correct.
And, I think we we do have some issues that we need to look into, and, you know, again, until you try, you don't know.
Anybody else have anything they'd
I
like
do.
to share?
It sounds like a common thread. We just heard, you know, the citizens speak to that, and now we're discussing it here again. So it sounds like we really need to put more effort into this and try to figure out how we can lessen it. Or is it the population who's doing, that they described, who's causing the problem? I mean, we might treat it with cameras, but what else is there? I mean, it sounds like it's a bigger problem than cameras.
It is a bigger problem. It's a homeless problem. And we in Leesburg seem to get the brunt of that with being the two larger cities in this part of the county. I think we've got to start somewhere, and I think signage is the first start to it. Cameras are a whole different ball of wax because of legal reasons. I think if we start with signage and then take a look at the camera thing, it's something we're not going to do. You know, with signage, we can go ahead and start with now. We have our own sign shops, so those could be done quickly. And then if that does not do anything, then we could look at cameras. But I think the bigger picture and the bigger question is going to be, how do we work with other cities? How do we work with Lake County? And how do we work with maybe live streams to fix the homeless challenge that we have? I mean, I'm very aware of other cities dropping their homeless off in our city and driving off and leaving them here. So we've got to fix that problem, and we're going to have to address that with those cities as well.
The issue we had, and it goes back to the issues we've had with the Floyds, and the problem is that the cities, because of constitutional restrictions, unless somebody's doing a criminal activity on public property, there's very little we can do about forcing homeless people off of public property, particularly rights of way. Now, we can limit our city property in terms of the parks and placing time restrictions, but being on the public right of way, there's very little we can do. I mean, unless Derek has something that we're not aware of, that's the limitations that we've seen. In the case of, the situation there, the Floyd's apartment, we've encouraged the property owners in that area to post no loitering, no trespassing signs. They have the right to trespass individuals on those properties, and then if those individuals enter on those properties, we have the right to arrest them for trespass. So there's means that we've been working toward to address that issue. Obviously, if it's related to the littering issue, we can do that. I know the chief has been considering, because of some of the problems we've had, possibly putting curfews on our parks. So they'll be coming forward with some discussion items in the future regarding that. But the question is the littering happening at night? No, I had a report from somebody a couple weeks ago. There were actually people sitting in a car in Farron Park. They walked up right on their car, and these people were utilizing drugs sitting in this car at 10 o'clock in the morning. So as the mayor indicated, and some of you indicated, it's a lot bigger problem as well. One of the suggestions, if we do the signs, obviously the attorney has indicated we don't have an actual per se litter ordinance. So if you wanted to implement a litter ordinance with penalties, you could do that. And then we, in putting up signs, can incorporate those penalties as part of that sign when those signs are posted.
And that gives it the oomph it needs to be enforced.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
I think it's a start, but in no way does it fix our whole entire problem.
No.
And let's be honest, it goes even bigger than that, because until we grow our police department to the size that it truthfully needs to be, they don't have the enforcement capability that we need. We're still sitting with a police department that's the same size or smaller than it was 20 years ago. So we've got a bigger problem. So there's a lot we've got to look at as a commission going forward. Okay, so that's my belief after watching it for a while. But, you know, and I'm sure the chief can chime in on that if he needed to. But it's all a big snowball effect, Emily, and I think you're right. It's not just the littering. It's just a bigger problem. So Christine, I know you're sitting back there. I know you're not feeling well. Do you want to come up and talk to us about anything that you've heard so far? Come on. And do not come any closer to that podium to me, okay?
I think I can do it from here, and you
Here
can
you
probably
go.
hear me. I think one of the issues that you brought up was hiring additional personnel to help handle some of the enforcement issues. As I was looking into some of the grants, FDOT does provide for hiring the monitoring, the purchase of the cameras, and for hiring additional personnel. And I know it's a grant, but it's a start. I don't know how long the grant goes for, but it might be enough to help to start justifying. And if you do have fines that are coming off, like if you get some pretty extensive dumping, like what we see over in Trout Lake, where you see the tires being dumped all the time, if you get one of those guys on camera, you're hitting them $2,000 for each time a tire hits the water. Every single time. You do that several times, you can probably double the police force here with as much trash you get over there. And then you've got license plates. You know, it's right there on the state road. So there is funding available to at least start some of these programs, to start with the cameras. You're right, it's a great first step with the signs. And I think going just a little bit further helps with those programs.
I think the attorneys, one of the things he said, the cameras are great, but you can't prosecute on the camera.
Yeah, you have a lot of obstacles with that because there's no identifying features. Even with the license plate on the red light cameras, you still have to have an officer certifying that there's a violation.
So
So you have a proof issue, but the cameras could shame certain people into complying. You could have on your Facebook or website, you know, whoever's dumping these tires, and you can have their image there. It's a public place, no expectation of privacy. So you may not be able to have a misdemeanor over it, but you may be able to use the video in other ways, or at least if they see a camera, maybe they'll refrain from dumping a bunch of tires in the river.
And I think your memo also mentions it's a huge deterrent. And as the city and as the populations that are in these areas start learning that there are cameras, they don't all have to be active. They don't all have to be monitored. Like you said, dummy cameras are a huge deterrent. So you get a couple of them that work, you change them out, you move them around, you keep some of the costs down, keep dummies up, keep moving it, you never know. Nobody knows which cameras are active and which ones aren't, and you're not paying for 5,000 cameras running. You're paying for maybe 2 or 3.
I think just even in our signage, we put that you're being monitored. You know,
Smile
but
on
we
camera.
start, smile you're on camera, you know, and then we need to put a monetary fine on it as well.
I think I've had a lot of really great feedback. I know I'm trying. So if I can aim a little bit better.
Okay.
I've had a lot of really great feedback about about the article that came out, about the ordinance itself. It's been amazing. One of the comments that I heard was, for people, I think this might address what you were saying, Madam Vice Mayor, people that don't have the money to pay, there might be an alternate to have community service time for those people. A lot of community service time. I don't know what $2,000 worth of community service time is. I don't know how much that is. But that might be an option to explore as well. So you've got alternates to just the fine, and it would be at the discretion of the courts. Whether the fine is handed down.
Okay, thank you.
Go to bed.
Go to bed. What would the commission like to do?
I just want to make sure that we don't blame our litter problem on the homeless. But besides that, a $2,000 fine, we're going to look ridiculous. If I happen to drop an M&M's pack and somebody sees me doing it, obviously it's not flagrant. But I also think that maybe what we could do is even do a better job from our public works to make sure that we see somebody in that park all day or every day, making sure we get it cleaned up. Because I've never actually been asked to approve an ordinance where I don't have any other backup information other than the cleanup crew. There's nothing that tells me who's doing the littering.
We haven't done the ordinance yet.
No, but even offering it.
half the problem at Trout Run is people that are homeless living in tents and throwing the trash into the lake, and they have been visibly seen doing that.
Is that
or
half
not
the
cleaning
problem?
up behind
Okay.
themselves. And it's
That's-
just blowing into the waterfront.
The Lake Eustis cleanup, you don't know, you know, it could be residents, people who live here, who go down by the lake and throw their trash. And I think, having done road cleanup with the Kiwanis Club along Lakeshore Drive, every time I see somebody throw a cigarette butt out their window now, it just goes all over me. But I think it's more an attention getter to put the $2,000 on there. It's to get their attention that maybe people do care in Eustis about litter and what people are throwing down and throwing out.
2,000 is a maximum fine. The judge would have discretion. The prosecutor in the case could seek a lesser fine at their discretion.
I like
Who's ever
community
present.
service, make them go pick up cigarette butts on.
I would have to defer to the attorney on
So it's
the
not-
likelihood of that really
Yeah.
happening at the circuit court level. I don't know for this time.
It'd be county court because it'd be a misdemeanor.
So it would be up to 2,000, because, you know, I'd hate to put 2,000 on there and you can't enforce it.
No, it's typically up to, and then there's judicial discretion on you know, the M&M pack versus
Right.
tires. Correct.
But, see, I can go with that. I thought it was a $2,000 minimum fine for my M&M. But also those tire persons, I would think those folks, probably not homeless, are throwing tires away. Those are the folks who need to get the $2,000, so I'm in favor of that.
Well, and I'm sure there's some statutes that talk about littering in public waterways. I don't know, did you look at those, Derek?
Yeah, there are, but the enforcement of it, this is your ability to enforce that.
Correct.
I would say dumping and litter, then maybe that's what we need to have.
So are we saying, for instance, if someone, there was a truck and it identified a company, and you saw it on camera that they were, you know, dumping tires, they couldn't be prosecuted because it's on camera and nobody saw it? I mean, or because you saw the name of that company on that truck, can something be done legally?
That's the gray area. That was the whole litigation over the red light cameras, is you don't have an actual officer certifying the violation, a sworn officer. So it's still gray. I mean,
Yeah, I had a situation, my daughter, we were living in Illinois, and unbeknownst to us, drove to St. Louis, and a month later, we get a letter from the St. Louis Traffic Division. Here's a picture of our car making an illegal right-hand turn. And the ticket was written as such that since I was registered owner of the car, they were sending me the ticket because, and unless I ratted out my daughter, I would have been liable for that ticket. And that was their means to enforce it. So, yeah, there's legal questions on it. And there's problems. And I understand there was some legislative action pending to basically make the red light cameras illegal. And I'm sure that would pass through other enforcement video procedures as well.
The last time I traded cars, they took the tag off because it had reached its lifespan. And I got a ticket in the mail because of my SunPass that somebody else was given the tag. I'd never seen the car in my life that the tag's on, or the car's on now.
You might have forgotten that
No.
part.
But they just fixed that for me, but it was caught on camera, but I'd never driven that type car. So, yeah, I'm positive.
I kind of like the illegal dumping first and littering.
Okay.
All right.
That would make sense to me. Then we'll get those folks who are really doing some damage to our waterways.
Anything's a start.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
So you're comfortable with littering, dumping signs, fines up to $2,000?
Illegal dumping, littering.
Correct. And we will do some research on the grant programs for cameras.
Can we add loitering to that?
And I do think that
Littering,
we may eventually have to look at some times in our parks that we shut down after 11 o'clock. I mean, even our parks may be off limits.
But how do you shut down a park?
With the same way you do your water ball, unfortunately. But because it's becoming dangerous. I've seen the stuff that's being left behind the chamber building, and it's kind of scary. You know, so it's just the bigger problem. We're going to have to eventually sit down and address the bigger problem that we have in our community. But this all starts. So I think that if we go ahead and do the signage, get it started, and let's look at grants to see if we can get cameras and the monitoring system in. Doesn't cost us anything to start that.
We'll do the ordinance and then construct the signage to coincide with the ordinance, and in the meantime, we'll do research on cameras.
Is everybody okay with starting that way?
And what would be interesting is just do a webcam, you know, like you have an attraction, and just out there, not serious, and just let it move around.
The Eustis litter cam?
Maybe we could get an eagle's nest, you know, but just 40 miles a day, and if you happen to show up.
So we'll get you all to go ahead and get us something going and then bring it back to us if that's okay.
We'll do that.
All right. Everybody good?
Yes.
All right, that's good. Now we'll come down to City Manager's Annual Performance Evaluation for 2018, 2019. Bill.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Bill Howe, Director of Human Resources. Annually, the City Commission is required to review the performance of the City Manager. Each of the Commissioners has completed an evaluation, and I've shared those evaluations with each of you. In accordance with the City Manager's contract, the City Manager's salary can be increased from time to time by majority vote of the Commission. That discussion is normally held as part of his annual performance evaluation. You've been provided with a staff report that noted salaries for area city managers and also noted the general wage increase you approved at the last meeting. It's recommended the Commission discuss the performance reviews with the City Manager and determine if future goals or objectives should be modified during the next evaluation period. The community has not had any input, but will have input tonight. Any questions?
Anybody would like to speak to the City Manager about their evaluation of him or about where we are at this point? Any of the Commission?
I would say he's been responsive to concerns that we've brought forward. He has shown leadership. He's respected. And I gave him high marks.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Lee, do you want to share anything on?
My short time here, I gave him favorable marks also. However, I would like to see, as I suggested, that, and as I saw throughout everything, that he works on like communication, negotiating skills, and try to fix what's happening so that we don't have these kind of issues occur anymore.
Okay.
Oh, one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I really, I want to see the downtown and do all the wonderful things we're talking about, but I want it to be throughout Eustis. I don't want it to be just one area that we focus on, but that we focus on the entire city, wherever we can make a difference, that we do. So I think that's important, that he looks at the big picture, not just focus on the narrow focus.
I have sat with Ron and discussed it personally. I feel the same way I do last year, that I feel that he's effective, and that's what we need. I am happy with his performance. There are things that we discussed, and it's in my document, that I would like to, for him to look at. And last year I did bring up about, I wanted more information on, you know, what's happening in our community as far as the business tax receipts, what new businesses are coming in. And I didn't want to find out about it when, you know, we're going to a grand opening. I wanted more information up front. Maybe I could, you know, be helpful in that end. And so what they instituted was a weekly update on the business tax receipts. And so that just keeps me apprised of what's going on. And, you know, it also makes me look at it, and it's like, we have a lot of home businesses in Eustis. We do. But that was one form of
information that I felt was very important. So that's where I'm at with that.
Thank you.
I'm fine.
You're fine? In my review was, I gave him good marks on everything. Any concerns I've had, we've discussed those, and one of them is just a communication when we're dealing with other governments, when we're dealing with other agencies, to just be able to take a deep breath and step back at times and think about the big picture and not responding very quickly to something that may not be going in our favor. Sometimes we have to just take a deep breath, step back, and look at things and then move forward. We might have to regroup at times. We talked about that a little bit yesterday. And I think other than that, we're in good shape. I know Karen and I have sat on this commission before trying to find city managers. That is one of the worst jobs you'll ever have, is trying to find a city manager. We have a good city manager. We, as commissioners, need to understand that it is also our job to stay in contact with City Hall and the city manager, to ask the questions and to do the homework that we need to do to move our city forward. I'm vibrating. Yeah, sorry. Would anybody in the audience like to address anything on the city manager? This is your opportunity to do so. Not seeing hand, we're going to close that portion of things. Does anybody have any future agenda items? Or before we go there, do you want to say anything? Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. You know, when I came to Eustis and was looking at Eustis, I wasn't just looking for a job, I was looking for a home. And I think I found both. Some of the things that you guys discussed in terms of things that I need to work on is something I've been working on my entire life. When I go into something, I go into it with a passion. I've come to love this community. My goal is you know, I'm almost 59 years old. I'm hoping that this is the last line on my resume and I can retire from this community and spend the rest of my days here. Again, I found a home. My goal is to make this community better than what it was yesterday. And hopefully with the great staff that I have and the commission here, we can get those things done.
Thank you. Now, Mayor? Salary? Yeah, we did need to talk about it.
Can I talk for just a second?
Come on up, real quick.
Sorry for my shorts, people.
It's Florida.
Long day, it's one day. Thank you, sir. I'll kiss you later, but we can't say that. Dan Harrison, I live on Bates Avenue. I've lived in this community for about 31 years. My home is Tennessee and here. I have many rentals here. I worked with the city manager, the mayor, chief of police, the fire. One of our biggest problems, I think, and I'm going to be honest and I'll make this quick, our communication. Sometimes we have to get together in a room. Many times I call Ron. He works on it through Gary. Gary and I have a very close relationship. I call him, I blow his phone up probably 20 times a week. But when I call him, it's for a good reason. I think our biggest problem throughout the town is communicating amongst ourselves. You know, I might talk to the mayor, I might talk to the city manager, but I think if we come to more together as a team, talking about homeless, we built beautiful parks here, coming over the back way of Bates. That road there, you have a $3,000 fine on that sign. They spend, the maintenance workers spend 2 days cleaning that up. I got a real problem with that. We could be putting that into police cars. Cameras are great, guys, but when you go to court, I'm going to tell you right now, the judges are hard. I know, I have a business and law degree. But what I'm saying to this team here and the people in the audience, we need to come together as a team here, not, well, all about complaints. We need positive with negativity. But I'm just saying, you know, I see a lot on Bates. I speak up quite hard for the community, quite hard. But I think, you know, and I know these meetings are important. This is not the place to come and complain. If you're part of the problem, become part of the solution. If you were the solution, you were the problem. So what I mainly got to say is, as a team, let's come together a little better. And I know meeting after meeting after meeting costs money. But I'm going to tell you something right now.
our police department has to grow to take care of what we're doing. 5 cars on at any one time is not enough. I'm not blaming Ron. I'm not blaming this man back here. What I'm blaming is us. We have grown and grown and grown. One accident on David Walker takes 2 police cars. Guys, we need to get our act together. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. One of the things we need to do is talk about the salary for the city manager also at this point. I'm looking for recommendations from the rest of you.
I would like to make a recommendation. We go with the flat annual wage increase after seeing some of the other cities and what they're paying. I don't like to be last. So at least let's start moving it up. So I'd like to go with the salary flat annual wage increase of $22.19.
And that still brings him up at last.
I know, but the other ones are so far, it's like $12,000 a head.
I'm good. Don't. I'm good.
And I think that's across the board, that is what
That's what we did.
everybody else got, so.
And I have to be, I love you, Ron, and I think you're doing a great job, but we as a city commission had always said we were not going to treat one department differently than any other department. And I look at your position as the same way.
I agree.
So I would have to go with that base as well.
No, I agree. I wouldn't accept
We
more
just
than.
needed to verbalize.
Yeah.
So, very good. All right.
Emily, are you okay
I'm good.
with that?
All right.
Bill, is that good? Is that all you need? Do you need us to vote on it, or is that good?
Well, yes, by the majority vote.
By majority vote?
We'll have to do an addendum.
Okay.
Yeah. Bill, do you remember, when's the last addendum that we did for Mr. Nybert's contract?
We've been through the same process the last 2 years.
Right.
That's the language of the contract, and just a majority vote.
There you go. Okay.
All right.
Majority
Do you need to bring
vote?
it back, or do we just need to do a motion and?
Majority vote?
No.
Okay. All right.
I'll make a motion
Okay.
that we increase the city manager's wage to the flat annual wage increase of $22.19 that we gave all city employees.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Not hearing any, roll call, please.
Vice Mayor LeHeup-Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Moore,
Aye.
Commissioner Aliberti,
Aye.
Commissioner Lee,
Aye.
Mayor Holland.
Aye. Now, future agenda items. Is there something that you would like to see on a future agenda? Emily?
Come back to me.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Vice Mayor.
I would say, we talked about the homelessness situation. I think that certainly deserves more conversation, maybe in a workshop setting.
I would agree with
I
you.
would like to see something, and,
Is there any individuals or organizations?
We need
you'd
live
like-
streams involved with that.
Also, if I can add, as you know, I'm the, what am I?
Homeless Coalition.
I'm on the homeless, it's called the Continuum of Care for the Mid-Florida Homeless Coalition, and I'm the chair of the governing board. I think that one. I would love to invite them, at least the director. I know, it's a bureaucratic process that the national government came up with, the federal government came up with. So they would be good ones to call too. That would be Barbara Wheeler, and I certainly will be able to provide information too.
Okay. Anybody else with anybody else we want at the table for that?
Is there anybody from the county? I know they're working on some initiatives.
You could, but I have a sense that what we do in the governing council, we serve all 4 counties, and we have all the data that you may need. If you need somebody that's talking about offering services, like Lake County could offer services here, it may be that somebody from their social services could do it.
Well, there's several issues to address. One is obviously from regulating homelessness in terms of what things from a legal standpoint can we do to discourage loitering from that standpoint, but obviously we have some limitations on right-of-way, but obviously then there's a programmatic approach on ways to address homelessness.
Could you maybe reach out to the city of Leesburg? Because one of the last meetings I was in, it's like our homeless populations really rotate between the 2 cities. So I think if we find out what Leesburg's doing, maybe we could work with them and see if we could work out
is
something.
Leesburg being successful?
In some areas, yes. Yeah. So just, we could at least talk to them. Okay. Anything else, Karen?
Nope, it's good for me.
Okay.
And chairs, we need new chairs.
They walked in.
I would
We
agree.
were waiting for the commission to approve the budget, and we're working toward a.
Hallelujah.
I would like to say.
Yeah, nothing, I'll come back to you. Marie?
With some of the businesses that are coming in downtown, again, we've already addressed the crossing of the streets. We've got the crosswalks, we've got signs that say if somebody's in the crosswalk, you can't go through it. When I was at the beach, they don't have a light every time you turn around. And what they're using is for crossings from the beach side to the regular side, they have these flashers that go, I mean, you can't miss them.
They have them in Celebration as well. I've
You
seen
can't
that,
miss
yeah.
them. I mean, they're just like, and if somebody just steps into that, they go off. So you are aware that you have to stop because there are people in the crosswalk. And they have quite a few of them over at the beach because of all the traffic back and forth, all the pedestrian traffic. So if we could look into something like that.
Okay. I can just prepare, we can do some research and prepare a staff presentation on our
Because
findings.
you know after they hit this light and they go, yeah, I mean.
Clearwater Beach, I brought this back to the
They're
commission
crazy.
a year and a half ago. Clearwater Beach has the best too. You get pounded with that yellow light, and we didn't do too much about it. We started the study of Magnolia and Bates, Bay, and that has some legs to it.
Yeah, the state is finalizing the report, but they're sitting on it for some reason on some finalization. I'll have Rick call tomorrow on the status of that report.
So we did start that. That sounds good.
I mean, if we want a really walkable downtown, you gotta be able to get across the
Got to be able
street.
to cross it, absolutely. Anything else, Marie?
No, I think that's anything on the Vet Fest again. Our parade is what, Saturday?
It's on a Sunday.
It's on a Sunday,
Yes,
okay.
I think we have a banquet on
November.
on the Friday.
Right.
And then there's a bike run from Gator Harley back to Eustis and some stuff like that. So should be a great time. Miss Emily, did you have something, ma'am?
Yeah, I was wondering, again, is it possible that we could revisit the budget? I have two things that I think we need to look at. I think we need to look at our budget to see what we could do to help our police department. And the second thing would be, I am concerned about the youth in the community. I think that they need more to do and more programs available to them. And so I'd like us to either look at the budget or look at the CRA someplace that we could get some funding for these kind of programs. And I'm really concerned when I hear about the police department.
Are you talking about bumping up Parks and Recreation for the programs for the youth there?
I think we could discuss and be creative, get ideas. We don't have to just focus on that, but see what other people are thinking that we might be able to do to
I
create
agree.
programs. I think from 5 years old up to 18, there's got to be something better that we can offer them.
I agree.
And I think tying into that was the housing meeting that we had, and
Yes.
so we wanted to start somewhere. So we are doing a community cleanup on November 16th.
Actually,
And-
it's been moved to the 23rd.
Okay, the 23rd, which, okay,
Jeep Fest was the 16th
okay.
that we had looked at.
Oh,
with
that's right,
Marie.
that's right, okay. But that's all tying in together, is pulling together as a community and working on those issues and helping the people out a little bit, get in and clean it up. So it does make a difference. People can't hide if you don't have a bunch of junk in your yard. So that's an issue too. It's a safety issue.
And it could be that with Buddy Walker's program, they have a connection with the community, so they could help us in some of these situations to connect with the community. And I was going to suggest, we talked, I don't know if it's appropriate to do this now,
Go
but
ahead.
we were talking about rotating the commissioner who would sit in on the housing. And I think it would be one of us who would sit there, so we'd have continuity. So I was gonna suggest, I heard Commissioner Moore volunteer to be that person. So maybe, I was thinking if we had one who, just for continuity purposes, stay on that committee, would be a better thing than each one of us coming with each our own different perspective about what it should be. Just a suggestion.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it. Everything will come back through
Yeah.
this body anyway.
That's fine,
So
too.
it's perfectly fine.
Okay.
Thank you. Y'all do it.
So are you all not coming to the meeting on the 10th next week?
No, they'll be here.
No, we're supposed to code it out.
We're
Okay.
coming to
Not
that
till the
one.
end of
Okay,
October, right?
okay.
I think the
No,
breakup
that
is.
was the one where we were really
Sorry.
gonna put it all together.
Right.
And then we
Okay.
were gonna break
Okay.
it apart.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any reports anybody want to give? Marie, you have anything you want to report?
No,
No?
no.
Bob,
just-
anything you want to report?
I just had a great golf outing with Ron and Chief Swanson and,
And me?
oh, that's right, you were there, I'm sorry. So much so that I actually decided, my son and I went to play golf today, so you got me out of bed here to go play golf again. So we had a good time. As much as he says he's a bad golfer, I was worse than he was. So I enjoyed it, Ron and Mike, so thank you very much.
It was
And
fun.
It was a great time, and Mike, thank you so much. We had a great time.
And they raised almost $5,000 at the Parks Tournament for the scholarship programs, so.
We had a weird day. We had love bugs and rain and sun and love bug
And a lot of
rains and sun.
laughter.
Oh, gosh, we had a great time.
And next commission meeting, I'll bring the video of Mike Swanson golfing, so. So,
I was better than Mike, though.
Emily, you have anything you'd want to share, ma'am?
Just one thing, I'm very, very pleased, as you know, I'm on the trustee board of the college, and I've been wanting to get the college more connected to Eustis, and I'm so pleased, and I thank Ron for making a connection with Dr. Sedor to discuss possibilities of how we could work together. I'm very pleased about that, thank you. And the parade was great yesterday.
The homecoming parade, it was really fun. It was fun. Madam Vice Mayor,
I have nothing, thank you.
City Manager.
I have one item. There was a suggestion regarding painting of trash dumpsters in the community. We spoke to Waste Management. They're not excited about the individual home totes, but they are agreeable to our city dumpsters and the recycling dumpsters that we have. So if that's something you would like to pursue, we can begin a process of,
I can slap paint on a dumpster.
Karen's all for it.
or we can get, actually, I got a note on my desk from somebody from the high school wanting to paint murals in downtown. So
Well, there you go.
that fit in well with that. So if that's something you're still interested in pursuing, I can put together some
Certainly.
information regarding that.
Every little bit helps.
Sounds good.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
All you have, Mr. Attorney.
Nothing, sir.
Thank you so much. Homecoming parade was great yesterday. Got to go down for the police accreditation, outstanding being with them yesterday. We have an awesome group of people that work for us and work with us every day. We just need to work together more to make our city great. This afternoon, or this morning, I was able to, I do not like doing political stuff from this chair or from my position as a city commission, but I had an invitation to be with the president today. And anytime you get the invitation from the White House, no matter what party you are, you need to go. And it was really interesting to be a part of that today because there were people from all parties and all walks of life that attended that today. So it shows you that we're not that all different. We can work together to make a positive change in our communities, in our county, and in our nation. And that's what we better start doing, or we will lose everything. Thank you all for being with us tonight. Thanks for sticking it out, and we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all.